Pecha Kucha 188, so I bought an Udemy course. So I kind of bought an Udemy course as a joke quite a while ago, maybe a year ago. I was going through it as and when I had the time and the inclination, mostly on Sundays. It became actually a bit of a positive habit. Made by Scott Harris. It's the advert that I get hit by every time I look at something art-related on YouTube. And even now that I've bought his course, still get the same advert. It sells for £200. It's always on sale. I bought mine for £10 because it was half price. So he's got this one bit in the course where he's drawing a superhero. He shows a sped up 10 times speed version of it. He then also has the full 2 hour, ratio of 1-to-1 time file, which I was watching because it's good to see people do these things, but it's boring as fuck actually. So I decided I would just see if I could pull a superhero out of my ass while he's pulling one out of his. And what I was trying to do was update this really rough idea I had for what I'm going to do when I finally do the 7 demon shit. I'm going to do like a superhero pastiche. It's basically the Tick, but he's got an A on his forehead. He doesn't even have a costume. So as I'm doing this, I'm trying to think, because he's just supposed to be a dude in all white, is there something I can do to make that more interesting? Superheroes wear Y fronts, so I'm like, can I give him some really obnoxious ones? I sure hit that nail on the head. Too obnoxious, got to dial it back. That's going to be something that's not going to get addressed for years, though. We'll see where that goes. But Smiley Show, I'm still just kind of adding the flat colours, getting closer and closer to the point where I have to ultimately have that finished production model, both in terms of the theories being ironed out and I know what I'm doing when I go forward in the future. So when it comes to backgrounds, I'm mostly adding gradient fills. I don't have a plan for that. There's no intention to go crazy with background detail. I'm also adding rough shadows at this point because I typically smooth them out using the blur tools while I'm working through Smiley Shows. A lot of this is choppy and rough, and I mean it's never going to be superb when it's finished, but it's going to be a little bit more polished. My heart wasn't really in it this week, but I think it's a victory that I didn't feel like doing it, but I still did it. There was a lot of other things I was meant to do, like that Udemy course, with a lot more commitment and a lot more time that didn't really pan out because I was messing around with my schedules and my habits in a way that was ultimately dangerous and damaging. But I still did my allotted Smiley Show per day, dedicated time. Here I am again, adding the flats, adding the shadows. I was messing around with like a green and gold background gradient thing, which is kind of like a throwback meme, I guess, to Bison's alternative colours in the original Street Fighter. Not really working. I don't think the problem is using gradient backgrounds. It's figuring out which colours and if there should be some kind of symbology to it. In this bit, Bison's talking about murdering Smiley and Vegeta, and how he's going to do it. So I feel like the background's an excellent way to kind of signpost his increasing violence in his mood. But yeah, I don't know. So final flats of the day. I'm using that extra document I've got. So I'm basically colour picking Vegeta's shirt off of this, and Bison's red, and all of these other things off of this other document to keep them consistent. So at least there's something going on there that's credibly professional. I also did a bit more work on the Predator Drake pose thing I was doing. It was supposed to be half an hour of a quick sketch, just something to just... Because I was just going to make a joke about the new Predator movies being shit. That's all I was going to do. But then when I was trying to clean this up, I just started rendering it, which was a terrible mistake. I should have cleaned up the line work instead of adding tone and stuff. So I started with the face. And then, as what happens to artists, you end up trying to create something that's credible and has a high quality. So I'm kind of jumping all over the place, adding things all over the place. I've adjusted the pose, I've started rendering the skull, I've changed his hand, I'm getting to the armor, and this is where it's really getting to the point of I probably shouldn't have started this because now I'm obligated to finish, and the higher the detail, the more obvious it is when I screw it up. Like the plasma caster laser thing on his shoulder is probably just the wrong angle in the wrong place. But like I was saying, I started with the face, getting the eyes right, just trying to make them look like they're closed, and then it was like add the talon things. I can see that they're disproportionate in their length, so I have to go back to that. And I was really enjoying the chalk brush, using it in a certain way where I'm starting to create texture. It's almost like the canvas has a grain to it. Because I'm using chalk and then I'm blurring it to get the lines I want, I'm inadvertently creating a grayscale image in parts of this image as well. So I'm kind of combining inadvertently this really rough, grainy chalk brush texture with this really smooth. Well, I mean, it's really good for metal when I smooth out all the chalk brushes because it creates like watercolor, almost a watercolor wash, which I can then kind of play around with. Ironically, I might be adding chalk on top to try and get back to that texture. And while I was randomly Googling Predator images, it turned out that Jean-Claude Van Damme was the dude in the original Predator costume. I did not know this, and I am thrilled to pieces to know that he broke the original Predator mask, and that might be the reason the Predator had to be redesigned, and then they got Kevin Peter Hall to play the guy that's actually in the movie. So Sad Clown of the Week this week is I bought XCOM Chimera Squad. It's a pretty good game. Being a budget release, it's an XCOM 2 asset flip. It's not really a new game, and it sure as fuck isn't XCOM 3. I couldn't find a really succinct way of explaining how bad I find the voice acting. Not because the lines are badly delivered, but I can't tell who the aliens are because they added no pre- or post-production to the game to make the aliens sound alien. No voices were edited like they are in, say, Mass Effect. Nobody put on any voices like they kind of do in Star Wars, or what they talk an alternative language, or they use different speech patterns. It bothered me quite badly. There's a bit where there's a snake lady talking to a 20-year-old Asian member of your team, and they're both... I couldn't tell them apart because they just sounded the same, and they were both being snarky and like glib, witty. And it got to the point where I'm like, if I can't tell who's saying what, this has to be incompetence, not just laziness. Otherwise, it's a very good game. If you're looking for a cheap XCOM experience, you can't go wrong, especially since it's half price, or it was on release. I only paid £8 for it. For £8, it's excellent. But that brings us to the end of this week. Pecha Kucha 188 all done, and I will see you next time.